Welcome to the Friday edition of Coffee and Chel. To all of my U.S. listeners out there, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. To all of my Canadian listeners, hope you had a good Thursday. All right, so today is the first Coffee and Chel in about over a week since season 2 is dropped that we're back to normal. All right. Yesterday I did an episode with my man Stu Padre. It was awesome to talk, hockey and just the game itself. Felt like the old days. So if you didn't listen to that, that's how Coffee and Chel started. Started with me and Kesso, and then eventually turned into me and Padre, and we had Papa on as well for a while. But it did feel nice to go back to the roots, essentially. So for anyone that listened, and I saw a lot of comments that are positive, bringing Stu back. It's just schedules, guys. Nothing else. But this allows me, the new format for Coffee and Chel, or essentially what Who Should You Choose became, allows me to just come downstairs and talk about relevant things that are going on. And there is a lot of stuff to talk today. It is not going to be an episode where I ramble on about nonsense. Well, there'll be a lot of rambling, let's be honest here. But there is a lot to discuss. Let's begin at the top. All right, season 2. All right, I haven't given my thoughts on here about season 2 and everything that happened. So I was in the hospital twice. Not in the hospital, like, didn't have to call a name. I thought I had to, but I guess I should give an update there as to why I was gone, as I immediately go into a rant about random stuff. So why I was gone was, I guess, about 2 weeks ago, Monday, about 2 weeks ago, I woke up having a hard time breathing. Every time I tried to go and catch wind, I would just cough nonstop. Went to the hospital because I was legitimately concerned. I'm not a hypochondriac or anything, but I'm pretty self-aware of when stuff's not normal or not right, and wasn't very confident. So if I was gonna pass out or whatever, I figured I might as well just do it at the hospital. 8 hours there. They basically tell me I just have a really bad flu. I go home. 2 days later, it gets worse, where now I just have this full-blown, brutal flu, and I still have this coughing problem, starting to freak me out. Go to my family doctor. They give me, they test me for asthma, not like the normal asthma where like you just, you have to take it when you run anywhere. As someone who is pretty, athletic's not the right word. Well, I guess I could say I'm pretty athletic for my age, but I have a very good cardiovascular, let's say that. Very good heart rate, all of that. Was a little stunned to find that out. So I assumed I'm like, what? Now I'm like, I sprint. Like I'm a pretty quick guy. I've never had this problem in my life. It's just when I get sick, much like my son has. So I take these puffers. They help in the immediate, but I'm still not getting any better. Monday this week comes around. I wake up at about 1 a.m. again, and it is the worst. I am the sickest I've been. I can't breathe again. I'm coughing immediately. Back to the hospital I go. Actually, no, I slept in, tried to sleep it off. I wake up around 10, start having the thing again, and I felt like I was going to pass out. So back to the hospital I go. 8 or 9 hours of the hospital. That's, the typical feeling in Canada of when you go to the doctors, you go to the hospital. And because they had taken blood work and x-rays of me the prior time, they had like immediate knowledge. So again, same situation. They take x-rays of me. Looks like I was starting to develop pneumonia. So that's why I was having such a hard time breathing and why my chest was hurting so much. So I got some pretty big antibiotics. The toughest puffer you can get for it. It's like a combo one of the orange and blue one. And I'm upright. I'm feeling good. I get winded when I go up the stairs, though. Like, I know that there is something pretty wrong with my lungs, but that's being taken care of. So just an absolute brutal 2 weeks, I got to be honest with you. And one of the annoying parts about people ask me about being a content creator and, some of the things of what it's like. I am blessed to do what I do. All the 20-year-old content creators that say that content creators have it harder than people that work a normal 9 to 5. They're just children who have never worked a day in their life. As someone who did, I have a very great job that I'm blessed for, and I wouldn't be able to without you guys. So, again, I will never take that for granted. But the one stress I will say, or a different stress that a content creator feels, or anyone who's self-employed, is when you can't work, you don't just get a sick day and, you kind of wash your hands of it, right? Just like at 5 o'clock, your day's not over, right? And God, man, I have like a sickness or an addiction to uploading and streaming and things like that, because the stress I felt would just compounded the problem. So I'm glad that I'm back or well enough. And sorry for the 5-minute rant there, but I just want to touch on my health. I am good again. There is nothing prolonged that's wrong. I just got really sick, started to develop pneumonia. My my kiddo is fine. He's back up and good. So everything is great. And yeah, I just need my lungs to kind of help out here. So, season 2, as I go off the rails immediately. It's been a minute. It's going to take me a minute to get back in the swing of things here. Season 2. Season 2 drops, and obviously, when it comes to the amount of sheer content, it is still one of the best. All right? Like, the fact that we get new icons, heroes, rookies, all of it, I think one of the problems when it comes to live service games is that when you start something, so the season format like this, where they do I call them content nukes, okay, where they're dropping the nuke of content, right? This is a new format for them because normally it's just, here's the start of the game, all the icons, whatever, it's big, it's exciting, but then it's just every 2 weeks we get an event and master set items. It's not like that anymore. You get these content nukes, okay? I think something that is being overlooked and why season 2 did not hit as hard, the sentiment there is that, man, this isn't as good as season 1. And it's frustrating because obviously, after season 1, they've seen all the things that we didn't like. They have data, right? They have at least some sort of quality assurance of like, hey, we like this, don't like this, whatever. You can make adjustments. And then it was just kind of not a wet fart because it was still good, but it was less. It was it's right. So a couple things. Number one, launch of the game and launch of the game was the best launch in Hut history. I'm confident that. Lots of things wrong. I mean, from a content standpoint. So they came out with what? It was 6 icons at the start of the game, and then at the launch of NHL. So I'm talking about pre-order, right? So the first early access week, we got our first season. We had the 6 icons that came out at the beginning of the game. So Fedorov, Sakic, Solani, or Fedorov, Solani, the goats, whatever. The guy, Pronger, Chelios, Lundqvist, Thornton. Bang, got it. And then they released Sakic, Coffee, Brodeur? Nope. Someone who's not as good as them. So we had like 9 right off the rip, right? And then same thing with heroes. We had 6 heroes, and then, or however many heroes, and we got additional ones at the beginning of season 1, right? That's awesome, but you have to understand that when you release content or anything, if it doesn't have the same amount the second time, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Now, they might just not have it might be an asset thing. I don't know. But I think that is one issue that is not being talked about, is that season 1, obviously launch of the game is always going to have the biggest content drop, but when season 2 dropped, it didn't have nearly as much. Like, we got 3 icons. We get 3 icons? Yeah. Yeah, we got 3 icons. We got a couple heroes. The rookies stayed the same amount, which was nice. And we got a lot of captains. So just from a sheer number standpoint, there's less, right? That's one issue. So going into season 3, by the way, EA, if you're listening, figure it out. Take assets from, because the number doesn't matter. It's back in the day, guys, they pigeonholed themselves. I remember when Nick, the old content dev, I don't know if he came up with it, but figured out a way around it. Back in the old days, 5 years ago, a couple years ago, when a master set player came out, the artist drew the number of the overall on the card, which sounds so funny to me because they pigeonhole themselves into that card being that overall. When they came out with the upgrade master set player items from the under 22 event, which is why that's like the before and after of like old Hut and new Hut, was the under 22 event. And they had to figure out a way to make the number just universal, right? And they have access to that. So they're just making card art, and the overall number that doesn't get affected, right? Like, they can make it whatever overall they want. So EA, if you're listening, give us 6 icons. Yes, they're going to be expensive. Who cares? 6 icons, 6 heroes, 3 rookies, 8, whatever, right? Like, it has to be the same amount, in my opinion, as season 1. You got the event, right? Like, just overwhelm us. That's step one. Step two. So I didn't think this would happen to this extent, but when we as just players, casual or not, I think this might be a human thing, just a gamer thing. We went from the line combos getting up to 99 overall. By the end of season one, we had our lineups all into the 90s. If you were a regular player, you didn't have a player after line combos, unless it was meant for salary cap and AP purposes, that was below 90 overall. There were so many good line combos, and we knew what was coming. We knew the reset was going to happen, right? The problem was, for the last, ever since the face-off event, because the face-off event was the first event where we were like, oh, +6 overall. Like, that was the first event where we got a taste of what was going to happen as we progressed through seasons. We never anticipated. Myself, nobody. I mean, maybe you did, but I didn't see any way that they would let us go that high. And then once I saw the +6 from the face-off event, that was very specific. It was very, very difficult to get that +6. And there was a couple, but it was very difficult. Then you had the beast mode. Then you had the next gen event and all that. And that was just when it went off the rails on purpose to get to the high overalls. The problem is, ever since the face-off event, we stopped looking at the attributes of the cards as the number one factor. So when they reset everything, I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of people, myself, I was a little like, everyone's like 99 hut. I honestly, like I said, I just didn't play a lot. And I wasn't sick. I think I didn't play champs. I couldn't afford Land DuPont. I was just like, I'm good. You know, I think that's, I'll do my chores. I'll play the game preparing for whatever. And when you go to season 2, though, I was like, okay, all these cards that are good, you know, will get line combos. There'll be some popular ones. The thing is that the stuff we chase after, so the icons, the heroes, the event items, we kind of got used to looking at the line combos first. Do they fit into a line combo? Yes. Card's amazing. No? Okay, whatever, we pass it. Now the line combos, there's not a lot of amazing ones. There's a lot that help with salary and AP, like from the Chel week. But in terms of overall, I think the highest you can go is +2. I'm sure there's a very specific one. Like, I know, yeah, I think it's +2. So now we're back to looking at the attributes, right? And I'm not saying we ignored attributes as in the beast mode and all of that, but the majority of cards we didn't pay attention to because as long as line combos fixed. So season 2 resets, and now where there's no overall line combos, and then it's like, yo, these cards have 88, 87, and 88 speed, which if you go back and look, is pretty normal for the other events. The problem is they don't fit into a line combo. So now you're left this like, why am I chasing after cards that have 87 speed and excel, right? When in reality, it doesn't matter because eventually we're going to get line combos that go back up to 99, and all of these cards, for the most part, are going to work. Like, at some point, there's like a Canadian card that fits into like a +6, and you're going to be able to use whatever master player you want, right? And then it makes cards like Larkin so much better because of the skating, right? And the face-off rating. It makes you almost want to ignore everything else. And when Season 2 dropped, there's not as many cards as Season 1. The attributes don't hit as hard because we know what's coming. We have no idea at the beginning of Season 1. Attributes, we just go off of, okay, what are the best attributes? That's it. And then line combos, we just started to get used to it. Now we know what's coming. And it's like, oh, man, do I really want to grind all this to get these cards that just like, I have to hope and pray that EA gives us a line combo that fits it. And then that leads to a little bit more of player exhaustion. This is what I was talking about leading up to it. I still think that it was good and the reset is good. And I'm having fun again because my team is completely different. And while that's annoying to some players, right? I think for the hardcore players, I think, and by hardcore, I mean not just the online player. I mean, this is your main game. You say that video gaming is your hobby, but you play just NHL. I think that if that you fall into that bucket, I think it's good. The reset. Again, you could go back and you want to go look at like NHL 24 or something. It is very bland, guys. Like, they shoot all of their icons and X factors and all that stuff at the very beginning of the game, and then it dwindles because they're not releasing more. and then you're just waiting for an upgrade from, them releasing a random new card, and everyone's team was roughly the same. And now, at least with the line combo, makes you think a little bit. And sometimes it makes you think too much when you don't want to. But offline or online player, I still think this is a great format, right? But it has to be figured out a little bit more. And the way that they're figuring it out is a little concerning, because I can see where this is going. So when it comes to season 2, obviously didn't hit as hard, but it is still one of the best content drops that we've gotten in HUT. I think that people forget, we get angry at the game we're playing right now, right? Because we play it too much. This game is not meant to be, no sports game, not Madden, not 2K, not MLB, not a college football, no sports game. Hell, not Call of Duty, because that's technically a sports game in an FPS form, is meant to be played this much, right? And eventually, I've talked about this a number of times, eventually, as you play something more and more and more, the way that you get excitement is that they have to go above and beyond what they did, and eventually they can't beat themselves, right? In terms of like releasing content or making things interesting and going up. That's why when the new game comes out, we get hope, and we're like, it's got to be better than last year, and it's slightly better, but we forget about what the bad parts were of last year when we complain about this year, right? Like, I'll still take this over is this card the fastest? Which is really what we're doing, but at least there's a line combo thing. Like, at least like this card will be good if we get some line combos with it. So there's mini hope of the bad cards, right? So, when it comes to, where we're going with this, with season 2, I thought it was good. And the only way they have to, let's talk about Gretzky. I need to make sure I talk about Gretzky. This is what I mean by when the line combos reset and you don't have a card that gets +6, then all you've got is the attributes. And when we go from seeing 99 skating or shot or whatever because of line combos to like 88 and 87, it's just tough to see. Because in comparison, we have a lot of cards that have 90 skating, just straight up 90, like Solani, great card again, right? But a card that has 87, 88 speed is not bad right now. It's not. Because when you look at all the other cards, it's roughly around the same. Like, if you go back last year, we're in the same progression path. Like, 3 months in, 88s, like, that's where it was. Whereas, like, 3 months ago and 5 years ago, we had, like, 95s. And I think that is a good thing. It's a slow, very slow progression, but they've managed to find a way to turn it up and turn it down with the line combos. But the Gretzky thing, when you have cards that progress in overall, right? The problem isn't they progress in overall. It's the problem is the cost has to go up. It has to, right? Because if it doesn't, I mean, great for the consumer, but if it doesn't, then they've ruined everything before it, right? And anyways. And Gretzky's card is just not that great, right? Like, you have to make sure that the cards that are coming out now, that are the big chase cards, those are the chase cards, the icons, right? Or the heroes, all of that. They have to be bangers. And if they're not going to be unbelievable, because you can't just make every card have 95 speed. You can't. Then you have to come out with line combos that we can chase. And that promotes some pay to win, but at least it gives us something to go after. I'll say this. When they come out with cards or line combos with buildable cards, I'm okay with that. As long as it's buildable cards for the season or forever, right? Or an event, right? If they come out with cards that are only in packs that fit specific line combos, that's like the God, But if it's buildable, I'm completely fine with that. I don't care how expensive it is. Slowly but surely, you can work towards it, right? But you have to make sure they're good. You have to make sure they're good. And I don't think Bork or Gretzky even comes close to justifying the cost. I would much rather have Paul Coffey than Bork. I would much rather have Sakic, Sakic with quick release. Fedorov, especially because of that new Detroit line. I'm trying to think of some the other forwards. They say Solani. Like, Solani's up there, especially if he gets another line combo. That makes him even better. Again, I would just rather have those. So they've got to figure out a way to make those better. Let's talk about Chel Week, okay? So a lot of good. I love the Chel Week thing. I think it's great. Makes sense. 5 days of content. which is a little frustrating because the Monday release is great because it's remasters and player items. But the fact that like on Thursday they just released like moments or objectives or something small, like just do that every week. Just do that every week. I used to be able to see I used to have a really good working relationship with the content team, and I told you guys about this back like I think in NHL 2021 when I thought about applying to be on the content team when I was asked to like apply. And I remember I one of the things I did as an adult, I was like, what's the workflow, right? Because after you've had a normal job, like, you can, the money's important, where it is important. But also like day to day, what's the, the 9 to 5 actually entail? Very important. And I think people think that the content team, it's just extremely easy, and easy is, a subjective term. It's easier than being a garbage man or someone who works in construction in the middle of winter in Canada. Like, yes, it is easier, but there is some challenges to it. And I would love to see the workflow, because it was not this content team that went to 3 days. I want to make that very clear. People seem to forget that. It was the old content team that dropped from 5 to 3 days, and I understood it in the back end because, again, I used to know the workflow, right? Like, the content dev would come in, would look through all of the scores. Because remember, we had prime times. So there would be cards that would come out that would be like +1 overall, or sometimes not even an improvement because they just had a card, but they would get a new card. It was and I don't hate that. Like, I love that we used to get cards reflecting like big performances from the night before, but it was just stuff and you would never see them. Like, it would be like if you pulled one, unless it was like McDavid or McKinnon, it's just going back in the auction house. Like, or it was going into sets. Like, it was exciting to see the number, not the player. And they did not solve that. And by the end of prime times and all that stuff, again, revisionist history, at the time it was like, ugh, but we knew what was coming. So they would come in and they would go through all the European leagues, all the junior leagues, all the NHL. They'd be like, it was like a 3-4 hour thing. And they would just go through all the box scores and the big news of the night. And then it'd be like, okay, these are the cards that we're doing. Okay. And then the actual process to do it, I don't think I'm allowed to explain how it's done. It's not simple. It's a lot of IDs and things like that. Anyways, so that would be, it would take a majority of the day from just the content dev doing it, right? The problem is they could not work on anything further because they did all of that for the European leagues and everything like that. And while that's great for the overall consumer, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that, there is no, I'm trying to stay on track and not lose my train of thought. There is a reason why we don't see European junior and even PWHL player items, really. And that is not because they hate those leagues or anything like that. It is simply, as a business, you go through these times where the company's not making as much money. I'm not talking just about EA. I'm talking about in general. Company's not making as much money. Okay, their revenue is down. First thing that happens, the yacht owners get off the boat, the board of directors, they get off the boat and they go, time to cut the fat. So you lose employees. That's happened across the entire gaming industry. After that, they try and hyper-focus on what does work. Cut everything else, even if it's slightly enjoyed. You can go and see from future, like, those European cards, all the European guys out there, I apologize. It's an NHL video game. You're always going to be dominated, right? Like, I think, I don't know, the last time it was like 30, maybe even 20% of the player base is European. It might even be less than that. I don't know the exact number. It could be more. I think it's in between 20 and 30. There's just, even from a European standpoint, it's not like every European player would make the European card that came out, because there's like 20 leagues. It's not like, like every European is a fan of every European league. That's not how it works. It's like, I'm a fan of the Niagara Ice Dogs. All right. I don't follow the WHL, right? I like the OHL. So it makes it even more difficult, because imagine that, right? They were trying to appease everyone. So after they've trimmed all of the employees that, aren't directly important for the revenue, or, they spend less money. Then they go and take a look at what's being made. And if I were to hazard a guess, no one made the European content, like, or engaged with it, because they can see that data. I've told you guys this a number of times. If stuff does not change or does change, it is not a money-driven standpoint, unless it is egregious, right? Like they are just not making money, like to a point where it's like, what is going on? And I don't think Hut's in that point. I think Hut's made more money this year than the last 2 years combined, if I had to guess. And because the last 2 years were really bad. It's just that, does the content get engaged with? That's what they care about first and foremost. So if they come out with a European event or a PWHL event, right, and no one engages, that's the first thing to go. Like, again, from a standpoint of a business trying to get back on the rails, that's what happens. And then it gets back on the rails. They figure out the things that the player base or really, really wants, and then they start sprinkling things in and adding a bit more, and you'll see more European MSPs and things like that. And then something will happen. GTA will come out, everything will crash back down, and people get fired. Stuff will, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how it goes. Like, that's business in reality. Okay. So it's Chel week. Why? And a huge rant there. So the 5-day content, I would love to see it. That's the big thing about Chel week that I love. Here's, I've talked so much. I've gone on this rabbit hole, even when I was sick, watching multiple different creators on the internet that talk about, that are more intelligent, that have done the research as to what's going on in the game industry. I've talked about legendary drops a lot, watched a lot of Asmongold. There's a couple other creators that I watch quite a bit in the EU that cover the gaming industry quite well. And we're just like, I'm starting to notice from a business standpoint, like what's happening. And it's gaming companies, I don't want to say getting desperate, but the player base is exhausted from lack of innovation, the constant demand for more revenue, and this happens in every industry. You hit a point where companies need to make more money for the shareholders, but their product is tired, and the consumer's like, I guess I'll keep paying for it, but then it starts to dip down, and they focus on the people that are still there and trying to get as much money out of them. And once those people are exhausted, the hardcores are exhausted of spending money, that's when things really hit the fan. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that in sports games, they're not like the yearly sports video game release. I haven't even talked about F1 going to 2-year cycle. I guess that's a whole other podcast probably. But that cycle is so archaic. It is literally there from the early 90s, because back then, every year, the innovation was crazy. And you're just not seeing that now. And companies are trying to milk as much money as they can, or get as much money as they can to stay above water. I don't feel bad for them. No one should feel bad for them. But if a game costs 700, Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the perfect example, because it marks the point in which the last 10 to 15 years of gaming ends. I don't want to be dramatic, but the cost for Call of Duty is over $1 billion every year when you include marketing. And it's going to make 500 million. Okay? Major issue. And every video game that is a AAA studio that has a yearly release or a semi-regular release is going through that right now. Because the cost to, make a game that is more from a AAA side of things amazing is now costing 10x what it did 10 years ago. The gaming prices, while they are more expensive, it's by like $20 for the actual game. It's the microtransactions that really drive a lot of it. And you're seeing a lot of people that used to spend money on the microtransactions be like, man, I'm done, because it's not getting better. You're just getting more stuff and having to spend more money for the same thing that you used to in prior years. And it happens so much in Ultimate Team. But when it comes to these rants are crazy. I have a lot to talk about. It's been 2 weeks. Sue me. So about Chel Week, here's the thing. This is the reason for this rant. The collection reward. Okay. So there's been 3 Chel Weeks, I believe. 3? Yes, I think 3. And every Tuesday, I believe, or Wednesday, they come out with a thing where it's like, collect these cards and get a rare card. Okay? So Bissonnette was the first one. You collected three player items. I can't remember who they were. I think Ray Whitney was probably one of them. Or Ray Whitney? Ryan Whitney? Ryan Whitney. And you would you'd be able to collect Bissonnette. The problem was you couldn't make the cards needed to collect. Okay? They weren't pulled really. So Beeson is like one of the rarest cards in the game. You have that Beesonet card, like that's a flex. Awful card, but it's a flex. And they this week it's Brad Richards. Okay, you collect Kozlov, Girardi, and Shaw. They added a set where you can make them. Awesome. That's a big win. Okay, big win. So anyone who wants to get Brad Richards, all you've got to do is collect those 3 cards. However, it is a gamble. To make those cards, you can make them technically, which is a big W. But the but is it used to be ignored by myself and I think other creators maybe, or maybe even the player base, because it's like, that's so much better than what we had. Like, the fact that we couldn't even get a shot at him was brutal and dumb and made us ignore it completely. Did not engage. You see what I'm saying here? That set wasn't done. They've got to do something to make those sets done. The amount of people I've seen on Reddit that have like 10 Girardis or 15 Andrew Shaws, can't get Kozlov, can't get Shaw. And it's like, why would they do that? Why would they make it a random thing? Why do you think, guys? Because it's a business. And this is not an EA problem. This is a video game industry problem. This is the thing. Is EA good? No, in this aspect. Like, they are doing exactly what other big corporation is trying to do, suck the money out of everyone or the resources out of it. And I just wish that, like, the good old days of pretending that we should be getting all of this, like, it should be a choice pack. Guys, yes, obviously, if it was consumer first, it's a business. Like, it does not make it okay. Like, I want to make that clear. It does not make it okay. I'm just trying to teach you guys, like, to understand, to get you some understanding. Because then maybe you go into it like, do I want to do this? Because the amount of people that lost all of their resources, you could have made multiple 88 overall captain cards. You could have, because it was 79 overalls. Like, you could have made captain cards. And so I feel bad for people like that. And it's tough. Like, so my whole rant about how, game companies have to find a way to try and milk as much out of their player base that's left, because that's how they're going to keep their revenue as high as it was, right? And it sucks a little bit, right? That the days of getting choices for everything. This is not a content team problem. That's the thing I want to get across. Because the first person you're going to blame when you can't make it a choice pack is, why did the content team do this? Does the content team make great decisions all the time? No. There has been... NHL 25 is the biggest beta test I've ever seen from a content standpoint. And it was just unacceptable. However, I also know that, hey, these tactics, like not giving out choice packs, is there for a reason. The one thing I would say for a business and consumer standpoint, if you're going to do a collection reward like Brad Richards, put them in the store. Like, there is people out there, I know Hawks fans that desperately want Brad Richards because this is their main game. They play offline. They have blown their entire collection trying to get him. Can't, but would probably spend $40 for that card. And that might be absurd to you guys, especially the hardcore online players. But if you get the thing you want, there's a lot of people out there that make a lot of money. And that there's a disposable income. This is how they want to spend it. I guarantee you, if you're not going to give us a choice pack, put it in the store for money. It makes no sense to me why they didn't do that. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or how it should be done. Everything should be choice packs. Everything should be choice packs. But I have now stopped the, banging the table, because it's not the content team that's choosing that. It's not. It's the people that, that write the checks, that have to, that they get on that are in the board meetings, the yacht owners, and I'm not even mad at that, because I understand business from someone who's self-employed, but it's just like sad from a consumer standpoint, because if you grew up in the 90s, we went through it in our teenage years, the greatest era in gaming that will ever be. And this is not like some back in my day it was so much better. It's just reality. Back then the competition wasn't microtransactions, it was delivering a top-end title. It wasn't how do we get them to spend more money in Ultimate Team, it was how do we get them to buy the game with a crazy new feature that works, right? And I'm not talking about NHL, I'm talking about any video game, right? And it's sad a little bit. and something that like I reflect on a lot right now because again, time becomes so much more important as you get older. In my early 20s, I'd stay up till 5 a.m., grinding versus leaderboards or playing World of Warcraft or whatever, right? Like, you can't do that anymore. You simply can't. You got maybe 2 hours a night. And when I see these specific things and mechanics in the game, that just makes me sad a little bit. It's about Chel Week. That was very dark and depressing, and I apologize. But, anyways, the other thing about Chel Week, I love that there's new line combos and they make sense. I just like that there's a second event. It's just more, right? Like I think that's the thing, right? Like it's just more. It made sense to an extent. It was more just like here's the 100 over or the 100 Centennial teams. It was basically just because we want to do a Chel Week for season 2, right? Speaking of, you've got about 8 hours at the time of this recording to finish off an MSP. Thursday, they came out with objectives that basically give it you for free. So an MSP for free. At the beginning of the season, I did like beginning of season 2, I was talking about which cards should you go after. You never predict a line combo, right? Like much like the marquee event. Remember when I did the marquee event and there was no MSP that was viable, and then they all became viable, which is so funny. It was like if you don't have one that looks amazing, pick the one that could be amazing with a line combo, and it's Yarm or Yager. Like it just is. So I'm gonna make Yager. If you don't want to make Yager, guys, you can make Kale McCarr's rookie card for free, basically. So consider that as another way to go. If you don't want a Chel Week card, an MSP, you can essentially make Kale McCarr's rookie card for free. And that card's, especially with the +1 bonus to Paul Coffey. If you have Paul Coffey and you don't have Kale McCarr, I would 100% do that over Yager, Hosa, whoever. All right. The Kane moments. Again, another example of getting you to log in every day. Very good way to do it, by the way. If, like, again, when a business finds a way, like, I'm like, come on, guys, but I'm just, like, clever, Like, I'm like, all right, well played. Putting the Kane moments every day, like, people are like, why are they doing that? What do you think, guys? What do you think? You've got, all of the moments will be out December 2nd. And you've got until December 4th, so 48 hours, to do all of the moments that come out. Or if you did the 8th, the 9th one, however many. You have 2 days to do them all. If you were to go that route. And people are like, why would they do it like that? One, all of the hardcore players that can't play in the last 2 days to get that moment, and they are big Patrick Kane fans, guess what they're going to do? Burn their collection. Burning your collection, guys, like getting them to use your collection is engagement. But the less content or the less collection you have, the more likely when they come out with banger content, you might spend a couple bucks. That's the reality. So spending your collection is just as important as, it's not just as important as spending money, but it's the pathway, right? It's better than you being like, nah, I'm good, right? So you're either spending your collection to get the remaining tokens or collectibles, or you go and you just buy Patrick Kane. And again, just another gaming tactic that you see in money modes like that. And I hope that, I'm assuming the Kane moments are what we're going to get from Spotlight moments now. It's not going to be where you get all 9 at once. And maybe, I was going to say the only bad part, like the only good part about it is that it forces you to not do them all at once and then get stuck on that one moment for 10 hours. But if that one moment comes later on and you can't get it, then you're kind of screwed. So there's no benefit to it. There's no. The other thing is the fantasy PWHL cards. So admittedly, I don't watch the PWHL. It doesn't interest me. And that isn't like a women thing. I don't watch European hockey either, right? I don't watch the WHL, don't watch the QMJHL, right? Like that's the thing I don't like when everyone says that, like there's some weirdos out there. And guys, if you hate the PWHL cards because they're women, that's a bigger internal issue that you need to figure out. However, not being invested in the PWHL because you don't watch the league, just like the European League or the juniors, that's normal for the most. It's NHL, right? Like it's always going to be, the NHL players are always going to be far more sought after because that is the video game you're playing, right? However, it blows my mind that the fantasy PWHL cards which are just good cards by themselves, by the way, guys. Like from an attribute standpoint, like if they don't score a goal, they're good. But you would think that EA has a partnership with the PWHL, that they would try to. The PWHL getting into NHL was so big for the PWHL, not really for the NHL. Like I don't know how many more sales that the PWHL drives for the NHL for if it wasn't in the game. I use this as an example when I went over that the drop was. I was watching Team Sweden World Junior games because I had ASP fantasy card last year. The fantasy event is a perfect event to allow us to get a player because then you might pay attention to the sport and that helps grow the sport. Like that's the video game growing the sport is the entire point of sports video games, guys. I don't mean to be the, burst any bubbles here. The entire purpose of every sports video game is to get you to play the game, and then you go and play this, you go and watch the sport, right? And obviously the money and the transactions along the way, right? But do you know how many the NHL video game in the early 2000s, it was such an insane video game because the sport is insane in itself, but it's also the hardest sport to get into because of a cost standpoint. I love hockey because of the NHL video game. I've been to San Jose simply to see my favorite teams 3,000 kilometers away because of the video game, right? And I just don't get why they didn't give us enough collectibles to do the B&D fantasy PWHL cards. I understand that the cost should be the exact same as the men because, again, from a standpoint of like optics, the PA and like that would be awful if you made them cheaper. So you can't do that. So if it's 40 collectibles, whatever, to make the one you want, you can go and do that. The cost is still absurd. That's not changing. And again, what alarms me there, if the cost didn't change, guys, that means that enough people did it. Which is just goes to show you that like you can complain all you want about the cost and things like that, but if in the background the sets are still being done, like I said, all you can do is if you don't like something, complaining will help, yes, but not engaging is the ultimate. It is the ultimate. But you should have gotten enough collectibles via moments, objectives, whatever, to get a free B&D one. Not like a random B&D one. That blows my mind that they didn't do that. And it also makes me extremely concerned for the World Junior event. Because if I would hazard a guess, you're not going to be able to. And that's kind of devastating because they nailed it last year. There were so many complaints about the content team. And again, they were just trying random things because they used it as a beta. They made the World Junior event the best it had ever been. Ever. And I see the cost of and not being able to get P2HL cards and just like, dude, it's going to be the same for the World Fantasy. I hope it's not for the World Juniors. I really do. So, we'll see how that plays out, but kind of a rough look. And again, I don't want to point out all doom and gloom. I want to try and teach you guys what's happening. And obviously, if it upsets you to the point where you're like done with EA in general, there is no other video game company that is doing anything different. Are there companies doing it more egregious ways? Yes. MLB is 100% the best Ultimate Team from a content standpoint, but they also have the greatest setup because they have a deal with Topps where it's real cards. So you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. But what's not talked about that isn't better, the best cards every month or every week are bought now. Now it's far easier to earn coins. You earn 1 million packs, all of that, but you're getting overloaded with packs that are useless. And that isn't talked about enough. It's just, I think in an Ultimate Team game, because it does revolve around a lot of gambling and just that part of your brain that gets activated from that, the overwhelming of packs is the best way for Ultimate Teams to go. I've talked about how the more packs you have, the cheaper all the cards are in the auction house, and there is a balance that you have to go through, but there's no way to just say that the overwhelming way to just get stuff would be, even if the cards were insanely expensive to buy in the auction house, just overwhelm us with packs and we'll be happy. I personally don't really care about packs, but that's because I used to have a gambling addiction and I hate gambling. So it almost like, that's why I don't do pack openings. Like that's honest to God why it's always been. And I have no problem with people that do, because a lot of people just enjoy seeing that stuff, right? It's like their outlet, to not have to spend their own money, things like that. I totally understand it, but that's a big reason. So if you just overwhelm you with packs, like that's probably the best way to do it in an Ultimate Team game. And you can see, because the number one complaint is rewards, right? Like that's it. But more rewards, more money, more problems. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So again, not all doom and gloom. It just, I want to teach you guys the what's going on. I'm taking the hours that I'm kind of learning about the gaming industry and what's going on, and just kind of parlaying it and trying to make it make sense as to what's going on with team. HUD is going to go through. I don't think it'll matter. I think sports games are untouchable. I really do. I was thinking about this a lot. I think sports games are untouchable because it would be different if we got bored of the real sport every year. The sport is very different, or not very different, and every year we're not competing, right? Like it's not like we're involved, but we're excited, and we watch, and we pay money, we get jerseys, we go to games, right? You're gonna buy the NHL video game or the MLB video game or the Madden video game. Like, you're just gonna buy that every year. Like, I think that the floor will never fall out. It's what goes on inside. I think, again, industry wide, you're gonna see massive changes to Call of Duty, right? Like, you just are. I don't mean to harp on Call of Duty. I think that Call of Duty is one of the greatest franchises of all time. You're gonna see it with Pokemon. You're gonna see it with every single big studio is about to go through this just 5-year, or maybe 3, because technology happens so fast, where there's like a reset where everyone stops buying these games or stops spending money in them because they demand too much of it, and the thing is not innovative. And you're going to get enough people where they're like, I'm good. It's not like they're going to go broke. But they're not going to be able to keep up with prior profits without some sort of innovation or change. And I think that we're going to see that across the board. And we'll see. I think that we're getting the week 2 of the Combo Nexus event. I think I figured out what the event is. So, like, I don't know what a Combo Nexus is, but it's so funny. When I was doing one of the drop videos, I kind of realized they're kind of giving us exactly what we want line combos to be, because they're releasing like lines of players on a team, but like, and then they go together to give us +3 AP. The 3 Combo Nexus players should be +2 overall, +3 AP, +5 million to the cap. And then you're like, that is, and it's because what that means is they're every day or every content day, they're releasing 3 players from every team, right? Or defense pairing. And it's like, that's kind of exactly what we want. Just thought that was kind of funny. And the event is kind of good in that sense. But, all right, lastly, before we get into the comments from the last video, update on my chair. Okay, boys. So while I'm dealing with this sickness, my chair comes in. That lounger chair, just the perfect thing for my room where I can just relax in my downstairs living room. I asked the salesman, 2 pieces, right? I've got kind of an awkward basement where I like to get down into, right? Like almost everyone does. You got to go down a staircase. Unless you've got vaulted ceilings, whatever. I go and pick this thing up. I'm kind of sick. I'm really sick. I'm winded from just walking. Anyways, it's the biggest box you've ever seen. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's the biggest box we've got back here. I'm like, all right, well, it's 2 pieces, so we'll get it there. Get it in my house, which was a crazy ordeal. I get it upstairs because I can't bring it downstairs. I get it upstairs with my wife. I had to do all, I had to do she was basically just guiding it. I go to cut open the box, 1 piece. I measure. I know there is no way that I'm getting this downstairs. At this point, I'm devastated. And I'm also like, I am not going to lose my money for this. So I call them immediately. I'm like, hey, salesperson said 2 pieces. It's 1. I have a very specific, sizing that I can't go past. I asked. I brought a tape measure. I did my due diligence on this thing. I need to bring it back. And I made sure to do the rush. Like, I wanted this thing back in their hands before they're like, sorry, it's an open box policy. We'll give you half store credit. I was like, no. I loaded this thing, taped it back up. It's 300 pounds. It's not 300. It was like 150 pounds. Get it back into my truck, okay? it starts raining. Like, you can't make this up, okay? I'm rushing back to the store an hour before they close. I get it off the truck. I'm like, I just get it back in their hands. I'm like, your problem, not mine. I then know that I have to go and get an exchange done that night before the salesperson or whoever comes back in there and deems that I've ripped this thing open and, maybe it got a little wet from the rain, whatever. I know I go and I sit in every single chair. I don't want to spend more money. I'm already pissed. I find this recliner, and it's a massager, but the massager doesn't work. It's a $3,000 chair, and they're selling it for like $1,200. Power recliner, just the massager doesn't work. I sit in this thing, comfiest chair I've ever had in my entire life. He says he'll give it to me for $1,000 and give me a 2-year warranty or a 5-year warranty on everything else except for the massager. It's like done. So I now have this unbelievable, like, I swear, I'm not a big chair guy. I sit in this thing and my legs like melt in and I'm just like happy. So yesterday, went to IKEA, got a new TV stand that fits my TV better, bought a new bookshelf, finished up my room, set it all up last night, guys, like 9 p.m. It was the first time where I was like, I got somewhere to sit after work is done, kids asleep, wife's in the bath or whatever, or maybe there's people upstairs and I just want to hide. I don't have to be in my studio. I'm just like, it felt good. And for anyone that has you don't need to go above and beyond. Bro, I look like the biggest bachelor whatever. Like, those memes where it's like guys are so simple they can live here. It's like an air mattress, a TV that's like on the floor leaned up against the wall, and like a box of pizza. Dude, I've got the saddest looking chair with a big TV, a rug in front. It looks hilarious, but it's mine and I love it. So, I bought my treadmill as well. Got my treadmill. Thing's 300 pounds. Having my buddy going to come help me move it downstairs tomorrow, and then we're good. And I'm just like excited about that. So a lot of people asked about the chair, which is just such comedy. But yeah, so it's down there now. Maybe I'll send a little picture of an update of the room. I don't know. I kind of like it that it's just mine. I don't know. Anyways, for anyone that has the ability to, build a spot for yourself. It doesn't have to be extravagant, right? Like, just build a spot for yourself. All right, so let's get into some of the most liked comments from the Padre podcast I did yesterday. Bree says, packs with only one item shouldn't be a thing. You spend so much time opening packs with 1 or 2 items in it, a complete disrespect to the player's time. 100% agree. I think that there's a big reason why they leave collectibles. No, that's got to be a tech thing. I think there's a study or something that shows where if you just open packs, you're probably more likely to go and open up packs. It pisses the majority of people off, but I bet you it leads to a couple more sales. Wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I can't stand that. Give us the item. The fact I can't make a set one time and tell the system to complete this 10x or however many I am able to complete with my collection is ridiculous. I spent over an hour doing exchanges just to exchange them with my low overall players. I want to show you guys something. Again, I just talk about these few games so much because they're the ones I play. So it's like I can give you examples, right? All right, so I talk about Pokemon TCG Pocket all the time, which I think is the best gacha game if you are a Pokemon fan. It's incredible. I don't spend any money on it anymore, and I love it. I'm a free-to-play player, but it's the perfect, you're on the John, whatever. It's the perfect game. So in the shop, okay, I want to show you an example here. Okay, you can buy these like little hourglass things here. Let's see if okay, you can buy these, watch this, okay? So one costs 3 things. See how it leads you to this screen? Okay, see, I can buy 1 for 3 things. If you hit this button right here, it'll automatically fill however many you have, the total amount that you can make. I can make 8, right? Like, why is that not a thing in all video games in 2025? I don't understand. I'm with you, man. The menu system of NHL in HUT now is at the point for me where it is embarrassing. Like, it's one of the things, like I just talked about for an hour, about innovation and then the amount of money that they're trying to milk out of you, the things that start chipping away at the people spending money, those annoyances where you just take a step back and you look and you're like, this is not $100 video game, regardless of microtransactions. Like, I don't understand. And it's like, well, people are still going to play it and they need to fix other things. I don't care. Figure it out. Fix the menu. Rebuild the menu. Like, whatever. I do what you got to do. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think the amount of line combos and the idea of not selling because of impacting your future, to fix that, they need to give more rewards so you can collect, save, and complete sets without worrying about impacting future combos. A lot of NHL 24, when you received a ton of rewards from me, was fun because I had so many duplicates of cards, so completing sets and selling cards, keeping them, was more achievable. Yeah, like I said, the two sides of the coin. Again, the more that you've got, the less that the individual card is worth, right? So when you get an 83 overall card now, right, it is worth 5 times the amount that getting an 83 overall card was at this same time in the game, just like in prior games. Let me give you an example. An 83 overall BND card, or just in general, an 83 overall card, if a line combo comes out, it instantly becomes like an 88, right? Like it is the key, right? So there's a chance of it being so much worth so much more. The problem is, guys, is that they've just dumbed things down. So it used to require like 40, 80 overalls, right, to make something. Now it's like an 80 overall is worth way more, so it's like 10, 80 overalls, right? The cost is still ends up being the same or even more expensive because we don't get a ton of rewards. But we're just we should get more rewards. But I don't know the structure that makes it make sense. I can't articulate what I'm trying to say correctly here, because I think a lot of people hear me say that I don't want rewards, and that's not it at all, right? The problem with rewards is that when you get a reward, it only goes up. I want you guys to tell me the exact amount of rewards that you would be happy with from Cup Chase, and then never increase them. Now, maybe because of the seasons that's too difficult to do. But when you guys say you want more rewards, give me the exact amount, because what happens is when they increase rewards after about 3 months, we're sick of those rewards. We want more. That's human nature, right? And it's just a constant thing. And they're just like, we're not doing that, which sucks. You know what I mean? But like that's what it feels like. But yeah, like they've created a system where you don't want to sell all your stuff because it might be useful in the future. You have to trade it in if you want the new hot stuff. And if you can't, you got to buy it. And they've mastered this. Like I said, in 2 years we'll be done with it, and we'll be like, I'm not following this, but like it's pretty crazy right now. The start of season 2 was kind of a breath of fresh air for me. No crazy combos, just using the best players I had, putting them wherever in my lineup. Pretty much akin to how Hut has been for me has been for years before this game. I'm curious if most others feel this way as well. Yeah, it was nice. Season 2 kicked over, and there was no line combos really for me, and I just used my best players. It was nice. We'll get tired of that. Much like you look at the events and whatever, it's like guys doesn't have 95 speed, and you're like, ugh, I'm done, and that kind of sucks. But I'm with you. Like I do like, again, for the hardcore player, I think this reset is great. For the non-hardcore player, I don't think so. I made 10 sets trying to get that Kozlov card to get Brad Richards card. Ridiculous that you can't get it. What a scam. Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, right? Like it's a structure in place to make sure that you're not guaranteed it, because then you would just do the set 3 times, right? Like that's why. If it was a choice pack, you would do the set 3 times and that's it. There's a finite amount of stuff you would input. You did the set 10 times, you got the same card once, or you couldn't get the one card, right? So let's say you got 5 duplicates of each card of Shaw and Girardi. It's like they've just milked you, like a cow. You know what I mean? Like, and that stinks. But there's no way to argue that it's not better than what it was. So like it's just I see through it a little bit now, because before you could, if you wanted Brad Richards, you couldn't get him. You simply couldn't get him. That was it. I already put the game up for this year. I couldn't with the defense. I'm with you. The defense is really frustrating. I still play my wingers on the strong side, and it's a blast. I don't enjoy 10-6 scores, and not being able to play D wasn't fun for me. Arc Raiders is my game now. Hopefully they fix it for next year. Spent probably 300 total, but it is what it is. Yep. detriment to my brand to have you guys play other games. But I think something that a lot of, at least the guys that listen to Coffee and Chel every day, because a lot of it is just my opinion and me yapping, is that I'm authentic to you guys in the sense that like I am a gamer too, and my opinions are, how do I feel, you know? And this is, I've been talking about this for 2 years now. If you do not like the game, it is okay to try something else. And the reason why you don't want to is because your time is important and you don't have time to go find a new game. You sit down for an hour and a half at the end of the night and you're like, how many times have you guys gone on Netflix and been annoyed because you can't find what you want to watch and then you've just stayed up for an extra hour? It's the same thing with video games. It's the same thing. So you know a game, it's like a show that never ends. So you just, I know this game will work and, you know, it'll frustrate me, whatever. But if you just, I remember one of my favorite things I used to do. Back in 2000, when did this game come out? One second. Let's see. It came out 2000 November 20th, 2007. So I was 17. Was I in college? Yes. No, I wasn't. Okay, so I'm in grade 12. And I remember I was addicted to Halo, and that's all I played. But I remember there was this like right around school starting, so September, I was kind of bored and I was looking for a new game to be excited about. Halo was Halo, right? But there wasn't really a game for me that I was playing because I was, you know, I'd played Grand Theft Auto and all of that, but I was looking for like a new game. I remember going on IGN and just like looking for what are the newest like hyped games coming out. It was Mass Effect. And I remember being like, dude, I love Star Wars. I love RPGs. BioWare made my second favorite game of all time in Knights of the Old Republic. I was like, this is it, right? Like that doesn't happen anymore because again, you can't trust gaming journalists. Don't, like, good God, don't. If you want, like I said, content creators are their opinions and the ones that tell you exactly what games are good and bad. There's a dangerous rope there because from an individual standpoint, it's just one person's opinion. However, pay attention. Go on Twitch and see where the numbers are. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about like a new game comes out and it's like, man, it's got 50,000 viewers in there. Like, pay attention to that. I talked about this a ton about Call of Duty. Nick Merckx isn't even playing Call of Duty. That's his game. Like, if that doesn't show you that Call of Duty is struggling, right? That it can't even get one of the biggest creators where that's his cash cow, right? Like, NHL is technically my cat. I'm not a variety streamer or gamer, right? I would love to be, but NHL is my game, right? So it'd be like NHL launches and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go play Madden. That's how crazy that is, right? And obviously they have like a fractured relationship, but like it just goes to show you, right? Like, pay attention to where the noise is from a consumer level, viewership level, because that will tell you a game that's interesting. Arc Raiders is the epitome of that. Expedition 33 as well. Like, that's another one. And then just wait until November when Grand Theft Auto comes out. We did it. An hour-long solo episode, guys. We're back today. Week 2 of the Combo Nexus event. Come check it out on Twitch. I'm going to be doing a big live stream. They're doing a big sale. Again, if you want to support me, I've got memberships turned on my YouTube channel. And thank you for everyone that has subscribed, that has done that. On the replies to this video, anyone that's a membership, and I see your comment, I'm going to choose one every single episode. So, but also, I've got merch from a company called Dark Shift. If you see my hat, local buddy that started making some pretty sick gym gear and hooked me up with a pretty cool merch line. I believe they're doing a 15% off for Black Friday. So link will be down in the below for my like collab thing. And yeah, if you want to get some merch, the hoodie's great. But yeah, hope to see you guys later on. Have a good one.